He's the player of the year in the state of Arkansas. He is incredibly accurate. He threw for 91 touchdowns in 2 years and led him to a state championship at 13-0. So you talk about a leader, a winner.
Drake Lindsay lost it. End zone. Touchdown, Gophers. Lindsay floats it back to the end zone. Caught. Touchdown, Gophers. Lindsay gonna take it himself for the win. And Drake Lindsay, great example of a guy you hear on the recruiting trail. He signs with the class and then he's able to make a pretty quick impact. Speaking of making an impact, look what this potential class could be doing. They are right now tied for the greatest recruiting class in the modern era for Minnesota, a top 30 haul for PJ Fleck and company, and a lot to be excited about. And PJ Fleck is the man bringing in that great group. He's joining us now. PJ, like we just said, it might be the highest ranked class in your time at Minnesota when all the rankings are done. How come?
It's about time. We're going on year 10 coming up here. So, when you look at it, it's all about fit and selection. As you've been here 9 years, you know what really fits, what doesn't work, what the formula for Minnesota has been to create cultural sustainability over a lot of years. And then you go apply that. I think our recruiting staff does an amazing job of understanding that concept, as well as our coaches as well. So I think that was one of the big reasons why that we've had the best class since we've been here, and a top 25 class, which we're really, really proud of.
You know, specifically one area you've gotten really good at as a recruiter is the best players from in-state going to Minnesota. This is now 3 straight years the #1 ranked player has gone on to be a Gopher. How come?
Well, I think it has to do with a lot with the cultural sustainability. You know, we're recruiting players now that were at our little kids camp 9 years ago. And I remember when Mark Coyle and I were meeting and we were talking about the importance of a little kids camp to be able to flip of in-state players staying. And he was like, why do we have to have this big kids camp? I said, we're going to have a massive kids camp with all the things that make Minnesota really fun and their experience fun, because one day we hope that we'll be recruiting these kids as well. We're going to make playing at Minnesota really popular and the thing to do. And I think we've done that. And I think that's what you see. We've got the #1 player, #2, and the #3 player out of the state of Minnesota again. And then when you look at the #1 player in the state of Wisconsin, and the #3 player in the state of Wisconsin, and the #1 player in the state of Indiana. But I do think it sounds a little unique, but that little kids camp and that cultural sustainability kind of go hand in hand, where now young people in Minnesota are being raised to be Gophers, where I don't know if that was the case before. And maybe with some generational families. But other than that, I think we flipped the script on that pretty well.
Well, tell me about that #1 guy from the state. Who is Howie Johnson?
Howie Johnson is as tough as they come. This guy does everything 100 miles an hour. He eats, breathes, and sleeps football. He reminds me of a player we had at Western Michigan, Robert Spillane, where if you asked him, what are you going to eat? He said, footballs. What are you going to do today? Play football. What are you going to sleep on tonight? Footballs. It was constant. This is that type of kid. He's a gym rat. Everything he does 100 miles an hour, and he keeps changing his best. He fits this culture and program so well, and he understands the life program. So more important now than ever is fit and selection, and not just the recruiting process, but telling them exactly what it's going to be here and showing them as many times as they can in the real life experiences of what they're going to have when they get on campus.
More in-state guys include Roman Voss, the tight end, and Andrew Trout, the offensive line. What stands out about those two?
Well, one, Andrew Trout was our first commit of this class, and he's the ultimate connector of this class. He committed almost over 2 years ago. A big, strong, physical offensive lineman that is really going to bring so much to this program. Unbelievable family, but again, an ultimate connector. When you look at Roman Voss, I mean, he is Mr. Versatility. He plays quarterback, he plays running back, he plays tight end. He does it all. So it's going to be really interesting of how he plays as a freshman and where we put him and how we can use him. But we are going to do that. You know, he won't be here till June, but Coy Parrish wasn't here till June either. And Coy Parrish, in 6 months later, was freshman All-American and first team All-Big Ten and an All-American as well. So this young man has a lot of traits, the way he can run the ball, throw the ball, and be some type of athlete in his first year as a Gopher.
Before we let go, PJ, your game last Saturday, you officially passed Glenn Mason on that list, continuing to rise on all-time Minnesota head coaching wins. I just want you to know, Glenn is a dear friend, okay? So how dare you, PJ? How dare you?
I think that the only thing that promises me is I get to be an analyst on Big Ten Network when I am done coaching. I think that's what that promises me. I think I've earned that. Like, I'll be sitting right next to you analyzing some games and criticizing the next Gopher coach.
Tell you what, 2045, we'll make room for you. Sound good?
I don't know if I'll be live in 45. We might have to make that 35.
PJ Fleck, congrats on the class, man. Talk to you soon.
I appreciate it. Row the boat, Sky, I'll go Gophers. Thanks, Mike.
It's a really great haul for him. Again, all these different four-star players that are coming in, offensive line depth, defensive line depth. And let's stay on that idea of defensive line depth, because Howie Johnson was a guy I asked him about, Alan, the #1 player from the state of Minnesota. Why?
104 tackles for loss in his high school career. I questioned that stat keeping a little bit, and I watched the tape, and I was going, there's like 9 minutes of tackles for loss here, so no more questioning the Forest Lake stat keeper. Really outstanding player. I mean, fun tape to watch. This guy's in the backfield all the time. He plays with tenacity. Great multi-sport athlete. I mean, a really, really good thrower and a wrestler, but you look at the way this guy plays, he's going to be able to be effective without needing to put on a ton of weight. I think this guy finds a way to get on the field pretty soon to make an impact for Minnesota. Braden Stevens, not a guy who maybe gets a ton of fanfare. He was committed to South Dakota State for a time, but a guy who can really, really run and make plays from the different spots on the field. This guy is a 100-meter dash champ, a guy who has long jump, and a guy who can score anytime he touches the ball, whether that's from the slot or as a return man. Really, really good take.
Justin Hopkins, you see him playing in the slot position there, does a great job of diagnosing and exploding, triggering on the ball, is patient and is a willing tackler. And a lot of times you find guys that are playing at this size may not be willing tacklers, but he's a multi-sport star, and I think a type of player that Minnesota really, truly can appreciate and need to have in a program. Ryan Estrada, 5'9", 195, again, one of those electric backs that's undersized but can make big plays for you and can be a difference maker not only in the run game but also the pass game. See his patience as a runner, staying behind his blockers, and then when it's time to finish, he has that ability to hit the home run. So watch his patience in the hole, lets his blockers do a great job up front, and really just his eyes exploding through the hole.
Well, you heard PJ talk about Roman Voss. He's just a playmaker, an athlete. Coach Harbaugh used to say the best compliment you can get is to be called a football player. Roman Voss is a football player. He's listed as an athlete, likely to play tight end at the next level. You see him there playing quarterback. This time it's tight end. Also played safety, but you just see the speed. He's a rare playmaker, and as we saw with Coy Parrish, PJ Fleck finds ways to get these guys into successful positions. How about Aiden Hatch right away making his presence felt on this film? 4-star out of Indiana, #2 player in the state of Indiana, 6'4", 230 pounds, 6'8" wingspan. Also ran a 4.7 40, 35-inch vert, so he's an extremely explosive athlete, a guy that had a productive career with nearly 20 sacks as a senior.
Worth pointing out, again, what I said earlier, this is 3 straight years Minnesota has grabbed the #1 player from the state and kept them to be with the program. Turn our attention to Barry Odom and the Purdue Boilermakers. Odom just finished his first season, so this is his first full year to bring in a signing day group, and decent numbers, just I hope, the defensive line. A 4-star player that they're bringing in. But Alan, they flipped a guy recently, Jet Goldsberry. The safety is someone who just decided he was going to go to West Lafayette.
Yeah, he was committed to Ole Miss, and then with the coaching change there, decides to go to Purdue. Almost picked Purdue the first time around in his recruitment, though. He's an in-state guy, really prolific career, won a ton of games there, has played all over the field, quarterback, defensive back, going to play safety. Also a track guy, 10.88 and 100, 21.78 and the 200. He's a long jumper, so any way you cut it, this guy is just a really, really good athlete. I think once he's able to get in there and focus purely on the defensive side of the ball, this guy is going to make an impact. Braden Sweeney, they came over into Michigan, picked him up, and this was a guy the staff was really, really high on. He's kind of a classic old school Mike, from a really, really good program, has been super productive. Also rushed off the edge a little bit more this season, so he can give you a little bit of versatility. But this guy, I think, is going to come in, make a ton of tackles, and he's a guy the staff is excited about, not just because of the athleticism he brings, but he also brings a lot of intangibles.
Max Carmichael, 6'7", huge, tall young man. And, you know, he's the type of player I think he has to continue to develop that body. But some of the instincts that he has up front, he's going to develop into a player that I think is going to be very productive for Purdue. But you see, just his sheer ability to get in the passing lanes is one of the things that's really going to help his early development. It's just a matter of continuing to get strong at the point of attack.
Tight end Amari Towns has the ideal size and frame to exceed at this next level. 6'6", 220 pounds, could easily put on another 20, 30 pounds and carry it well. Played a lot of wide receiver really throughout his career, which means he's polished as a route runner. He's comfortable running routes, even flexed outside, as you see there on the slant and go. Comfortable using his hands in contested catches situations. He's a playmaker. Isaiah Wright is another playmaker, a 3-star running back out of Michigan. He chose Purdue over another couple of big-name schools. Played in a run-first offense. He's a powerful runner. What you see on film is a guy that fights for every single blade of grass, and right there is what really is the marquee trait of his game, that acceleration and burst through the hole, has that additional gear to score from anywhere on the field.
Tough year on the field for the Boilermakers. Only 2 wins as their rebuild continues. Perhaps these will be some of the guys that help turn them into a team that is consistently going to bowl games, which is where the program in Evanston is at right now. Their season is not done, 6-6, so they'll have a postseason game coming their way. Look at some of the top commits. Includes Jaden McDuffie, the wide receiver, who's a 4-star player, one of the top 500 players overall. Howard, when you watch film on him, what stands out?
A player that's going to be able to contribute really quickly at Northwestern. They need help at the wide receiver position, and he's going to be the type of player that's going to give him that ability. You see him doing a great job of running right by the receiver, but I also like where he catches the ball, uses his hands, not necessarily a body catcher like some young receivers are. You see him doing a nice job of getting up the field. I think this is a young man that can help them immediately. Run after the catch is outstanding, and being physical at the point of attack. You got to like that. Guys that aren't just running out of bounds.
This class is full of big frames, 6'6", 6'7", 6'8" guys. Jack Fuchs, one of them out of the state of Tennessee. Really, really good multi-sport athlete. Dad is an offensive line coach, so he's very well schooled. I think this guy is going to come in, put on some weight, and be a multi-year starter for Northwestern. Not all that different than current starter Caleb Tiernan. He's going to come in a little bit more polished. Jacob Miller is, I think, a really, really interesting developmental prospect, a guy who was a college basketball recruit, had a few basketball offers. 6'8", 240 pounds, played tight end, defensive end. They're going to pack on the pounds and make him into an offensive tackle, so it may take a couple years, but how many Big Ten offensive tackles started out looking like this? I think Jacob Miller's the next one.
Tom McGlinchey, where do you know that name? Well, yeah, that's because his brother is Mike McGlinchey, a current tackle for the Broncos, star tackle at Notre Dame. Played quarterback in high school, listed as an athlete, projected to play tight end at Northwestern. He's a multi-sport athlete playing basketball and lacrosse. I really think that's important. I played soccer in basketball. When you play lacrosse, it really emphasizes that change of direction and agility, which allows you to separate. Sean Morris is the running back in this Northwestern class, a 3-star running back, had an extremely productive career, over 3,000 total yards over his final 2 seasons. Very compact and twitchy back. He's 5'11", 205 pounds. He's got that downhill burst and acceleration, and you see just refuses to go down. He fights for every blade of grass, may not have that additional extra gear, but a guy that David Braun is happy to have.
Sean Morris the second, if you notice the graphic. Not our Sean Morris, spelled differently, but he does have the second after his name. From one NU to another, Nebraska has a 5-star spotlight because their top-ranked kid heading to Lincoln is cornerback Danny Odom. Comes from Orlando. Allen Service 24/7 in particular rates him the 2nd best cornerback in the country and the 31st highest ranked player regardless of position, while the composite has him a bit lower. Still quite impressive. Had offers from places all over like Ohio State and Oklahoma. Talented basketball player as well for Nebraska. And you look at some of the guys that they are bringing in, and this is a group that has a lot to look at, but I want to stay on that first guy, Danny Odom, Howard. He's from the Orlando area, and again, seen really highly as a big ceiling guy.
Really, and you talk about a guy that I think is going to have an immediate impact, be able to come in. You talk about a veteran secondary that Nebraska had, so there's going to be a need for his abilities to step up and make those plays. Just his confidence and understanding his ball skills are outstanding. Really does a great job of just being able to read things at the corner position. You see him breaking on the ball, going up, breaking up that pass. Now you see him in man-to-man coverage. Doesn't overextend, just does a good job of really just guiding the wide receiver right out of bounds. Does a great job there. Larry Miles, when you start to think about him, wide receiver, again, players that are going to be difference makers for this program. See him here lined up in the slot, quick, off the ball, really just runs by the safety. His ability now to go up and catch the ball is what he needs to do. He has the ability to help this team, I think, immediately in the special teams area, and he will develop into a very nice wide receiver and has a chance to be a difference maker for the Cornhuskers.
Claude and Puma came stateside to play basketball and actually didn't even put on a helmet till his junior year of high school. Picked it up very quickly, developed very, very fast, and has some real natural gifts at 6'8", 320 pounds. Played at Phillips last year, then Mount Carmel this year, and I think this guy is much further along in his development than we thought he'd be, but he has some special physical upside. Jace Reynolds was one of the first commits in the class, in-state recruit, a guy who's lined up all over the field, 91 tackles as a junior, played some safety, played some edge. You can drop him into coverage, you can rush him like he does here. Just a guy who finds the ball, finds a way to make plays, and a chess piece for this Nebraska defense that I think you'll be able to see line up in multiple places.
Running back Jamal Rule said, hey, I like the way Nebraska used Emmett Johnson. I'd like to go play in that offense. And he's a very similar build at 6 foot, 205 pounds, has great patience and feel, vision, and then you see that burst and acceleration up through the hole with the top end speed to score from anywhere on the field. Really, that is the one-cut zone running that we see Emmett Johnson succeed in. Also a viable pass catcher out of the backfield, important in the Huskers offense.
No H in that Rule's last name, so no relation to the head coach. That head coach, mind you, has back-to-back winning seasons at Nebraska. First time they have done that in more than a decade. A few more teams still to get to. Penn State's in an interesting spot without a head coach named. Wisconsin's in need for some good, fresh blood to their program.